In the turbulent world of modern discourse, where ideas clash and reputations are made or broken in the blink of an eye, few figures ignite as much controversy and fascination as Eric Weinstein. His name is a lightning rod for debate, drawing both admiration and skepticism from across the intellectual spectrum. With a Harvard PhD in mathematical physics and years spent as managing director at Thiel Capital, Weinstein's credentials are undeniably impressive. Yet, his reputation is fiercely contested, with supporters and critics locked in a constant tug-of-war over his legacy and intentions. To some, he's a visionary thinker, a maverick mind stifled by a rigid and sometimes exclusionary scientific establishment that resists radical new ideas. To others, he's a self-promoter, using complex jargon and provocative claims to build a personal brand rather than advance science. Weinstein's rise to prominence accelerated with his association with the so-called intellectual dark web, a loose network of thinkers challenging mainstream narratives and questioning the boundaries of acceptable discourse. Here, he became known for his outspoken critiques of academic and institutional orthodoxy, accusing powerful organizations of stifling innovation and suppressing dissenting voices. Central to his mystique is geometric unity, an ambitious and controversial theory that aims to unify the fundamental forces of physics. Unlike most scientific breakthroughs, geometric unity has not been published in peer-reviewed journals, existing instead in podcasts, lectures, and online discussions. This unconventional approach has fueled both intrigue and criticism, raising questions about the nature of scientific legitimacy in the digital age. Is Eric Weinstein a misunderstood genius ahead of his time and unfairly dismissed, or a cautionary tale about the dangers of intellectual celebrity and self-promotion? Ultimately, the debate over Weinstein is a mirror reflecting our broader struggle over who gets to define truth, expertise, and innovation in a rapidly changing society. At the heart of Weinstein's story is geometric unity, his proposed theory of everything. He claims it unifies relativity and quantum mechanics, explaining mysteries like dark matter and the masses of fundamental particles. Unlike traditional scientific breakthroughs, geometric unity has never been published or peer-reviewed. Instead, it lives in lectures and podcasts, bypassing the rigorous scrutiny that defines scientific progress. Weinstein argues the establishment is too hostile or corrupt to engage with his ideas fairly. Critics counter that without formal publication and peer review, his theory remains speculation, not science. This refusal to submit to standard processes keeps geometric unity on the fringe, fascinating to some, unsubstantiated to most. The debate is less about the theory itself, and more about the process of how science should be done. Supporters see Weinstein as a modern Galileo, sidelined by a system too rigid for radical ideas. His charisma and interdisciplinary thinking attract Silicon Valley elites and media figures, lending him credibility among iconoclasts. Podcasts become his lecture halls, where he captivates audiences with complex, sweeping narratives. Weinstein's critique of academia, accusing it of bureaucratic stagnation and punishing boldness, resonates with those disillusioned by institutions. For his followers, developing geometric unity outside the system is a mark of integrity, not avoidance. They see him as a martyr for true science, his outsider status proof of institutional failure. The lack of engagement from academia, in their eyes, only confirms his warnings about gatekeeping and groupthink. Critics see Weinstein as a secular guru, more invested in building a brand than advancing science. The absence of a peer-reviewed paper on geometric unity is, for them, damning. By keeping his theory in the realm of podcasts, he enjoys the status of a revolutionary without facing scientific scrutiny. Detractors accuse him of using complex language to impress lay audiences while evading clear, testable claims. This communication style, they argue, is designed to intimidate rather than clarify. The narrative of a lone genius suppressed by a corrupt establishment is emotionally powerful, but blurs the line between dissent and conspiracy. Critics warn this approach erodes trust in scientific institutions, replacing evidence with personality and narrative. For them, Weinstein exemplifies the dangers of charisma unchecked by rigorous proof. To truly understand Eric Weinstein's public persona, it helps to look at his brother, Brett Weinstein, who is also a prominent figure in the so-called intellectual dark web. The brothers share more than just a last name. They share a similar approach to controversy and public debate. Brett's rise to national attention began with the explosive protests at Evergreen State College, where he challenged new campus policies and ultimately resigned. This event didn't just end his academic career, it launched a public narrative of institutional persecution, casting Brett as a victim of ideological overreach. Like Eric, Brett used this outsider status to build a platform, positioning himself as a challenger to mainstream authority. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Brett's voice grew even louder, as he questioned official narratives and policies, drawing in audiences who felt alienated by the establishment. Both brothers became fixtures in online debates, leveraging podcasts and social media to amplify their messages and attract followers who were hungry for alternative viewpoints. Brett's advocacy for ivermectin as a COVID-19 treatment, despite overwhelming scientific refutation, mirrored Eric's own claims of being suppressed by the physics establishment. Both stories revolve around the idea of being silenced or marginalized by powerful institutions. The brothers frame themselves as principled thinkers, targeted by corrupt or incompetent systems. This narrative resonates with audiences who are already distrustful of authority, and it helps cultivate a loyal following. Critics argue that there's a family playbook at work here, turning conflict with institutions into a personal brand and using controversy as a springboard to fame. In this way, Brett's battles serve as a template for Eric, making Eric's claims seem less like isolated incidents and more like a deliberate strategy for building celebrity and influence. Ultimately, the Weinstein narrative is as much about media savvy and the art of self-promotion as it is about science or truth. Their story is a case study in how controversy, when skillfully managed, can become a powerful tool for public influence. Weinstein's concept of the unseen college imagines a network of thinkers outside traditional academia, connected through podcasts and social media. He uses these platforms to bypass gatekeepers, presenting long-form, unfiltered ideas to massive audiences. Podcasts become the new seminar rooms, where he controls the narrative and frames criticism as institutional corruption. This digital ecosystem amplifies his influence, but also shields him from rigorous challenge. The unseen college lacks the error correction of peer review, risking the elevation of compelling stories over tested truths. Charisma and engagement are rewarded, not necessarily accuracy. Weinstein's digital prominence raises the question, is this new model producing knowledge or just content? Weinstein's critique of scientific gatekeeping taps into real concerns about conservatism and groupthink in academia. History shows that institutions can resist disruptive ideas, sometimes to their own detriment. Supporters argue that physics leaders, invested in existing paradigms, are unlikely to welcome an outsider's theory. But the scientific community insists that peer review and rigorous standards are essential for filtering out unsubstantiated claims. The burden of proof lies with the claimant. Extraordinary ideas require extraordinary evidence. Weinstein's refusal to publish a detailed, testable paper leaves nothing for experts to engage with. Complaints of persecution, critics say, are premature without first submitting to the process. The walls of the ivory tower exist to protect science from noise, not to stifle genius. The Weinstein controversy endures because it reflects a deeper societal divide, one that goes far beyond the specifics of physics or mathematics. At its core, it's a clash between expertise and populism, between the slow-moving machinery of established institutions and the magnetic pull of charismatic outsiders who promise to shake things up. This debate is not just about one theory or one man, it's about who gets to define what is true in our world and who gets to be heard. It's less about the technical details of geometric unity, and more about the ongoing struggle over authority, legitimacy, and the boundaries of scientific discourse. The question lingers, who decides what counts as real knowledge? Institutions offer slow, collective judgment. They are built on consensus, peer review, and a tradition of skepticism that protects against error but can also stifle innovation. Meanwhile, individuals offer compelling stories, narratives of lone heroes, suppressed truths, and the hope that one outsider might see what everyone else has missed. Weinstein's narrative resonates in an age of growing institutional distrust, where many feel left out or unheard by traditional gatekeepers. He invites listeners to see themselves as part of a select group of independent thinkers, people willing to question, to doubt, and to imagine new possibilities. The vagueness of geometric unity is part of its power. For some, it represents a revolutionary hope, a chance to break free from old paradigms. For others, it's an empty promise, a distraction from the hard work of real science. Its lack of formal definition keeps the debate alive, fueling endless speculation and discussion. The theory is never fully provable or falsifiable, which means it can be whatever its audience needs it to be. This ambiguity ensures that the controversy will persist, as both critics and supporters find evidence for their views. Both sides have a point. Institutions can be resistant to change, sometimes protecting the status quo at the expense of progress. But science at its best demands proof, rigor, and a willingness to challenge even our most cherished beliefs. The controversy over Weinstein's ideas mirrors our own anxieties about knowledge, authority, and who gets to shape the future. It's also a story about the power of narrative itself, how stories can inspire, divide, and ultimately shape what we believe is possible. In the end, Weinstein stands as a symbol, hero or cautionary tale, depending on your worldview, and a reminder that the debate over truth is far from settled. As of 2025, Eric Weinstein remains a polarizing figure, celebrated by some, dismissed by others. His theory lingers as a mystery, his critiques of academia sparking necessary debate about the state of science. He may be a catalyst for change, even if his own scientific claims never materialize. Yet his story warns of the dangers of intellectual celebrity, where narrative can overshadow evidence. The rise of podcast-driven fame risks blurring science and entertainment, undermining public trust in rigorous inquiry. Does Weinstein represent the future of democratized knowledge, or the perils of confusing charisma with credibility? The answer will shape not just his legacy, but the future of how we seek truth in the 21st century.